Imagine Springfield without Homer going about his usual messy day. It might look like things would run smoother, fewer mistakes, more donuts left on the table. But what if Homer is helping the town's money system more than people think? Could one man's clumsiness and strange choices really be keeping things going? Let's take a closer look at how Homer might secretly be a big part of Springfield's economy. If anyone in Springfield ever stopped to ask who really powers the town's economy, the obvious name would come up first. Montgomery Burns with his nuclear plant and a wallet as deep as a country's treasure. Mayor Quimby with his shady taxes and endless ribbon cuttings. Or even Krusty the Clown, whose brand has probably paid for more than a few mortgages. Yet none of them compare to Homer Simpson, whose effect on Springfield's economy is best described as messy management. He is the invisible hand of the market, except that hand is usually holding a donut, a Duff beer, or a button that shuts off the town's power by mistake. Take his job at the nuclear plant. On the surface, Homer seems like the last person you would trust with reactor safety. He sleeps on the job, eats on the job, and mistakes alarms for the microwave timer. But this is where Springfield economics twists. Because Homer is so bad at his post, the plant keeps hiring consultants, safety officers, and emergency teams just to cover his failures. Every time he nods off, a small army gets a paycheck. His laziness has built a whole sub-economy of oversight and repairs. Without Homer stumbling through shift after shift, the plant would run too smoothly, and half the town would lose their jobs. Then there's the randomness he pumps into Springfield's financial system. Think of the plant shutdowns caused by him pressing the wrong button or wandering off. At first glance, that's a disaster, but disasters in Springfield often turn into opportunities. Each blackout keeps electricians busy. Each safety scare puts Lenny and Carl on overtime. And every time radioactive material leaks, Springfield General Hospital fills its beds. If economics is about supply and demand, Homer is the demand in human form. He creates problems no one wants, and in doing so, makes sure others will always have work fixing them. Beyond the plant, Homer's lifestyle shapes Springfield in quiet but powerful ways. His loyalty to Duff beer, for example, basically keeps the brand alive. If Duff had to rely on Barney alone, the company would have folded long ago. Homer, though, treats Duff like a food group. Every six-pack he drains means more work for factory staff, another order for Moe's, and another chance for Duffman to yell his catchphrase. Remove Homer from the picture, and Duff might fall apart, dragging Moe's Tavern and a chunk of Springfield's nightlife with it. Moe's Tavern itself shows how Homer holds up small businesses. He's kept Moe from closing his doors, even with health code violations that would shut down anyone else. Moe's doesn't just pour drinks, it pays beer suppliers, jukebox repairmen, and even keeps prank call victims sharp. Each night Homer sits on his stool, the local economy spins a little longer. It's not glamorous, but in Springfield, steady drinking counts as public service. His eating habits matter too. Homer's love for donuts has kept Springfield's donut market alive. Lard Lad Donuts has survived recessions, disasters, and even a giant mascot attack, thanks to his constant appetite. Where most buy one donut, Homer buys a dozen. That steady flow of purchases keeps bakers, delivery drivers, and advertisers in business. Homer isn't just a customer, he's the base of Springfield's sugar-driven economy. It isn't only food and drink. Homer's random hobbies also keep money moving. One week he's inventing things, sending cash to hardware shops and patent offices. Next, he's into a new sport, which means buying gear, paying for leagues, and racking up medical bills when he gets hurt. His stints as astronaut, snowplow driver, country singer, and mascot might seem reckless, but each gave a small boost to whichever field he wandered into. In Springfield, Homer's whims work better than a government stimulus. Even his poor money skills push the economy forward. His bad credit keeps loan officers busy. His unpaid bills fuel collection agencies. And his maxed out cards give banks steady income from late fees. Where most people see careful saving as smart, Homer shows how chaos can move money faster. Every missed payment helps someone else earn, and every repossession feeds the secondhand market. His lack of control has turned into an odd system of wealth sharing across town. And then there's his constant accidents, which are almost their own industry. Whether he's falling down Springfield Gorge, smashing into Burns' office, or setting his yard on fire, each mistake sparks business. Ambulances race, doctors send bills, mechanics fix wrecks, and insurance agents argue over claims. Homer doesn't just make accidents. He creates long chains of work that keep people paid. The same way coastal towns rebuild after storms. Springfield quietly depends on Homer's crashes to keep its money flowing. He also fueled Springfield's cultural economy. Homer is endless material, not just for the audience, but for his neighbors. His stunts fill the gossip mill, giving newspapers headlines, radio hosts topics, and Kent Brockman something exciting to report between snowstorms. Without him, Springfield news would be dull. Even oddballs like Professor Frink and Comic Book Guy benefit, since his disasters feed conspiracy theories and debates. Homer doesn't just touch Springfield's economy, he drives its attention market too. What makes all this stranger is how little Homer tries. He isn't aiming to create jobs, he isn't investing or inventing. He's just living his life, eating donuts and drinking beer, and somehow keeping Springfield together like duct tape on a broken pipe. If the town were a machine, Homer would be the loose screw rolling inside. Everyone thinks he's the problem, but pull him out and the whole thing might collapse. If Homer's job at the plant and his spending in local shops explains how he keeps Springfield's short-term money flowing, then the deeper layer of his effect lies in long-term community growth. Because when Homer isn't keeping donut shops alive or giving safety inspectors extra work, he's shaping Springfield's buildings, schools, and even the housing market. The twist is that he does it without meaning to. Living in Springfield means living with the fallout of Homer's choices. Since nearly every big town project, housing change, or neighborhood mess has his fingerprints on it, usually sticky with frosting. Start with housing. The Simpson home, plain as it looks, has become a steady point for property values on Evergreen Terrace. Realtors sell stability, and nothing stabilizes a street like Homer's endless mishaps. True, sinkholes sometimes open in his yard, or Bart blows up the garage, but the Simpsons house never leaves the market picture. Families move in and out nearby, yet Homer stays put, acting like a strange gravity that keeps Evergreen Terrace moving along. If he left, values might fall, not because he adds prestige, but because he brings the drama that makes neighbors care about their homes. Without him, Evergreen Terrace would feel too quiet, and in Springfield, nobody wants quiet. Homer's kids also tie into the education economy, and his effect here is as messy as his lunch tray. Bart alone has probably covered half the school's budget through detentions, extra classes, and parent-teacher meetings. Each one takes staff hours, supplies, and steady pay. Lisa, on the other hand, pushes the school to raise its programs, bringing in new books and even guest teachers. Homer doesn't aim for this, but by parenting in his usual mix of neglect and sudden bursts of pride, he makes sure Springfield Elementary always has work to do. Even Principal Skinner owes him. Because without the Simpsons, the school might run too smoothly, and then Chalmers would have no reason to keep Skinner around. Healthcare also thrives thanks to Homer. Springfield General Hospital has no customer as loyal as him. Few men have survived as many work injuries, home accidents, or failed hobbies. Every time he lands in a cast, doctors bill insurers, nurses rack up hours, and surgeons practice on whatever fresh injury Homer has invented. He's less a patient and more a moving grant fund. If you tracked hospital revenue spikes, they'd line up with Homer's disaster calendar, shocks in January, food poisoning in spring, and blunt trauma by summer. For healthcare, Homer is a one-man bailout. Insurance firms share in this fortune. Between car wrecks, house fires, and wild claims involving rampaging animals, Homer has filed more cases than a small office block of customers. The agents groan, but the work keeps adjusters, sales reps, and actuaries busy. His lifestyle forces Springfield insurers to keep large staffs and create policy options. If the town's insurance industry seems stronger than most, it's because they built a whole section called Homer Coverage. Cars and transport show his impact too. The Simpsons sedan has been wrecked more often than cars and demolition derbies, and each dent means another paycheck for Springfield's mechanics. Homer's constant need for tow trucks, rentals, and quick fixes fuels a cycle that probably covers half the auto shops in town. Even his rare stints on buses or the monorail gave transit some life, usually because he broke something and forced repairs. If Springfield had more mechanics per person than other towns, it's because Homer made sure there's always work. The law system is another odd area. With his DUIs, lawsuits, firings, and plant-related class actions, Springfield's lawyers stay busy. Lionel Hutz basically built his shaky career on Simpson cases. Each court trip means fees, paperwork, and billable hours, keeping the courts funded. Even Judge Snyder owns Homer, since without him clogging the docket, the courthouse might shut down from lack of business. Tourism and culture also fall into his reach. Springfield isn't a big draw for visitors, but when it does get them, Homer is usually the reason. His short fame as a rocker, astronaut, or local hero always brings ice from outside. Tourists fill hotels, buy meals, and grab souvenirs during these bursts. Even Marge's constant sighs at his antics add to Springfield's charm, the kind of quirky detail travel writers lean on. Without Homer, the town would likely fade into the background, and for a local economy, nothing is worse. Politics also show his touch. Homer's votes in Springfield's wild elections keep people like Mayor Quimby in office. That means budgets, zoning, and tax rules bend around his ballot choices. One could argue that Homer, through his gut-level picks, shapes Springfield's money future every few years, whether he knows it or not. Beyond Moe's Tavern, Homer also fuels small business. The Kwik-E-Mart thrives on his late snack runs, supporting Apu, the supply chain, and delivery drivers alike. Comic book guy benefits when Homer buys gifts for Bart. Marge's part-time retail jobs often come after Homer's money mistakes, putting her pay right back into Springfield stores. Even Patty and Selma's DMV gains from his endless traffic fines, failed tests, and license renewals. What makes Homer's role stand out is that it doesn't just run the economy, it makes Springfield's economy. If he were swapped for a careful man who paid bills, drove slow, and skipped donuts, the town would look like Shelbyville, and nobody wants Shelbyville. Springfield's whole identity depends on the strange loop Homer builds. He makes chaos. Chaos drives spending, and spending sustains the weird culture that makes the town feel alive. It's not a cycle so much as a roller coaster, with Homer always at the front, yelling with the chili dog in hand. That's why no matter the jokes, Homer might be Springfield's greatest moneymaker. He's the saint of accidents, the man who keeps jobs alive by making endless mistakes. In most towns, growth comes from leaders, dreamers, or investors. In Springfield, it comes from a man who once got his head stuck in a beehive and called it a normal Tuesday. And that, more than anything, is why Springfield survives. It doesn't run on oil, coal, or clean power. It runs on Homer. We'd love to know what you think about Springfield's economy. Thanks for watching and supporting our channel. Click the next video on your screen to dive into another exciting Simpsons story.